Breath of the Wild has truly redefined the Zelda franchise, from introducing a new style of play to the series that is the open world style, akin to the first Zelda game, to creating a massive world to travel, bigger than any past game in the series. The game had a pretty interesting and fairly long, tedious build-up, spanning from as early as 2013 to then finally releasing in 2017 after multiple delays. It's fair to say that Breath of the Wild has been the biggest Zelda game in terms of the hype, speculation, and of course eventually the sales of the game, since it overtook Twilight Princess in overall sales, making it the top selling Zelda game of all time. Now, we already know the next big Zelda game already started development shortly after Breath of the Wild's release, and I've had a question that's been pondering in my head for a while now, and that question is, could the next Zelda game top what Breath of the Wild achieved? In terms of the hype leading up to the release, speculation, and of course the sales. Well, this is going to be a two-part video. In this first part, I will be covering stuff like can the build up, the speculation, the sales, and all that sort of stuff top Breath of the Wild? Then, in the second part, I will cover in-depth stuff for the game itself. So let's now get into, will the next Zelda game top Breath of the Wild? Firstly, can the next game beat the build-up Breath of the Wild had? Well, I think in order to do this, it needs to do a few things, and also avoid doing a few things. Some of the stuff it must do in order to one-up Breath of the Wild is perhaps show off some more varied gameplay at events, such as E3 and PAX. I looked back at some past events such as E3 that showed off Breath of the Wild, and most of them showed pretty generic and basic gameplay. Now, I'm not saying show us some straight up story spoilers, but it wouldn't hurt to show off a variety of enemies, areas, and maybe even show us a boss or part of a dungeon, maybe even show us off a side quest in the game. I think this will give people a better insight to the game and more interesting opinion on it. Also, I think they should repeat giving the game an E3 spotlight the year before the release, just like how they gave Breath of the Wild an E3 spotlight and then finished off the build up to the game with a few Nintendo Directs focused on the game itself. Now, stuff I think the game needs to avoid. Well, first of all, I think we all know just how frustrating it was hearing year after year that Breath of the Wild, or at the time, Zelda U, was going to be delayed. This didn't really affect Breath of the Wild's sales that much, as it did sell exceptionally well. However, it was pretty frustrating for the fans hearing that it was delayed more than once. Yes, it did give Nintendo more time to work on the game and make it possible on the Switch, but maybe this time round have the game at least 3/4 of the way finished to avoid potential years of delay. Now, I want to talk about what console the next game will be on. Now, Breath of the Wild did have a bit of a helping hand, as it was a launch title for the Nintendo Switch, along with the quote-unquote game 1-2 Switch. Breath of the Wild was originally a Wii U game, which probably would have decreased its sales quite a bit if it released on just the Wii U, so the Switch really did give it a boost in sales. Now, we have heard rumours about Nintendo's plans for the future, mostly hinting towards the next step being a better and more powerful version of the current Switch, rather than a new console itself. Zelda games typically come out every 2 to 4 years, so it's unlikely that the next big game will be on a brand new console, but there is a chance it could be on this potential more powerful Switch. However, even if it was, I doubt this would give it the same level of a boost Breath of the Wild got from launching the Switch, as it's not completely new and isn't as innovating as the Switch was. So, as for any extra boosts in sales through the console it releases on, I can't really see anything happening. Overall, I don't think the console it releases on will matter much. A lot of new fans to the series were brought in through Breath of the Wild, so the obvious next game to a lot of them would be the next one, so a lot of fans will stick around for that. Now, on to the last main point for this video. I want to talk about what happens after the game releases. As we know, Breath of the Wild got 2 main DLC packs, DLC 1, The Master Trials, and DLC 2, The Champion's Ballad, along with some free smaller content along the way. After the release of the second DLC pack, that was Nintendo finished work on Breath of the Wild, and they even stated that there would be no further content for the game after the second DLC. So one huge area out of the game itself that I think the next Zelda game has the chance to do better is the content after the game releases. Yes, 2 DLC packs were amazing. Trust me, they really were amazing. But maybe this time round, do 3 or even 4 DLC packs. Along with something that I hear lots of people saying they would have loved Breath of the Wild to do, and that is regularly adding small updates. These small updates could be from adding a few side quests to the game, side stories, and maybe even some weapons and armor, or just smaller updates that maybe contain 4 or 5 side quests alone. Honestly, the amount of additional content Breath of the Wild received was really good, and you can't complain at all. However, I'm looking into if the next Zelda game could top Breath of the Wild, and doing something like this is very possible. So if they were to add some more DLC and additional updates to the next Zelda game after its release, it would give it a little bit of edge over Breath of the Wild. Well, that concludes the first part to this video. Part 2 will be up exactly 1 week today, and as I said in the intro, I will be covering more in-depth stuff for the game itself in part 2, so be sure to look out for that. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to subscribe and turn the notifications on. Also, we do have an active Discord server where we talk about Zelda, gaming, and just whatever, so if that's your thing, be sure to join through the link below. Again, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and until the next time, I've been Hyrule Gamer.